Today is May 8th. The topic is life after high school for a public school graduate. Let's meet our panel. This is Zach, Christelle, Desiree, Passion, Tanaya, and Chelsea. Why don't we begin by you all just sharing out any of the facts that you have, and then we'll kind of zoom out and figure out what story those facts are telling us about the world that you are about to clearly walk into. Anybody feel free to start.
I will.
Go ahead. What you got?
Okay, I'm looking on National Center for Education Statistics, and it's talking about public and private schools and how they differ from each other. Public schools, most people go to public schools because they're more affordable, and people hold private schools to a higher standard, but basically they're learning the same thing.
Sort of. Technically, I think almost all private schools are on the college track. So if you go to private school, the assumption is you're getting this much more rigorous education because your intent is to go to college. Whereas in public schools, maybe you have something like Pruden. You got different little outlets. Okay. Did they tell you what the graduation rate was of public versus private? I've not seen that particular statistic. I know the national average, but as you're looking at the difference, is it showing you the difference in graduation rate?
Right now it's on tuition.
Okay. Well, while she looks, anybody else? It doesn't have to be related to her fact. You can share another fact that you found.
Well, I found something on the public and private. The graduation rate for public today is 89.17%, and for private it was like 96.7%.
That must be where you all are getting that final thing. Okay, according to
Virginia.gov.
Now, is that just Virginia statistic, or is that a national statistic?
Virginia statistic.
Ah, and that's supposed to bring the average down because Virginia's state average for graduations total is 84 point something %. Okay.
But adding to what Tanaya said, she said we're learning the same thing, but not really, because in private schools they don't have a certain curriculum they have to follow. And the teachers, they get their master's or PhD, rather than in a public school, teachers only need their bachelor's degree and a certification. So they have more of an education for what they're teaching, and they don't have to meet a certain curriculum rather than in a public school.
Well, let's take a moment and think about that. Probably, what do you think the biggest difference between public and private school is? In terms of attitude.
In terms of attitude, if you see somebody, if somebody's in a private school, you think more highly of them as far as like education rather than a public school, because people feel like in private schools, is, like one group, or not even one, like plenty of people, but just like the way they learn from it being private and not public. In public schools, it's everybody, rather in
So you're telling me they're smaller,
Yeah.
which automatically sounds like it might increase the quality of your education. The teacher has more time to focus on you. But there's one other thing, and you're actually very, very clear on the right track. The attitude of the people that go maybe to private schools is a little bit different than those that go to public school, but it's for one single reason. It's because they what?
I wouldn't say
They pay for their education. And the moment you pay for something, you become more invested in it. So one of the arguments against public education is that because it's free, we have allowed people to not care about it. I myself want to write to parents frequently, "Dear Mrs. Johnson, if you want to have this much say in your child's education, here is a list of private schools."
that's just like college. Like, if you pay for it, you're gonna want to do it. So public schools, we feel like we don't have to pay.
And I like the idea that it's free.
Taxes.
I like the idea that it's free. That everyone should have access to learning if you want to learn. But if you don't have people invest anything, it leads to this sort of apathy. Okay?
That doesn't have to be done because it's nothing.
Exactly. Did anyone see anything about... Go ahead.
But at the same time, everybody has to pay their taxes, so in a way they are paying for it. And I found that if you send your child to a private school, that you can get tax breaks. So
It's not comparable. Have you seen tuition for a private